Poland is known for being a country with strict immigration policies. However, due to a string of migrant attacks and various scandals involving Germany allegedly dropping off undocumented immigrants on the border, there's a growing sense of unrest and anti-immigration building in the country. Today I asked the help of my friend Hectic Hector, and he went to the border to document and talk to the people there about what was going on.
My name is Hectic Hector on all the socials. Polish Australian, born and raised in Australia, but Polish family, blood.
Can you tell me a little bit about the situation? Like, why are there so many people protesting?
The reason why I went out there is to have my feet on the ground, to speak to the actual volunteers, to see if I could speak to an organizer, somebody really involved. I have a special guest with me, Polish MP Krzysztof Mulawa.
A lot of people would gather in Zielona Góra to support those who are against of mass migration in Poland. Not only this illegal mass migration, but also this legal migration, which we have a problem since 2010. We keep peace on the marches. We want to demonstrate what we think. This is not nothing special, nothing bad. It is very important to show people, to show even those left-wing media that we are patriots. We want to have peace in Poland. For me, the goal is to keep Poland as a great country. I think that patriots from all over the world are looking at us, what we are doing to stop the mass migration. A lot of Western countries has been lost. They are lost right now. They cannot do anything, cannot follow what a French nation, what English people did to their nations, to their country. Every Polish patriot have to do this. This is not something unusual. We have to do that.
Yep. You see, now I post different videos about what I found there, and you'll see people writing comments. Like yesterday I had one said, if you think these people are patriots, there's something wrong with you. Now I said, with all due respect, I've met these people. Where is it that you get this confidence from that you're telling me what they are? Have you met them? Do you know these people?
Yes.
Have you even been to the border? Regular family people making huge sacrifices to be there, traveling massive kilometers, standing on the border, patrolling, watching, making marches and demonstrations. And to do that so quickly is just, it speaks volumes about the Polish people.
It felt like less than a week. Like, I was hearing about these news last week. Just over the weekend, people were already at the border protesting, man.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
I think one of the problems of modern day political discord is that it seems like the right and the left side are often arguing past each other. The problem with the left side of the argument is that their tactic usually is to use shame and emotional manipulation to paint the other side as bad people without necessarily offering better solutions of their own. And I think a lot of the left arguments with just letting anybody in comes from a sense of compassion, which I think is great, but it's also incredibly naive. Unfortunately, there's a lot of cheaters out there and there's a lot of bad people out there. And I wonder if the potential benefits of letting good migrants in outweigh all of the negatives that come with disruption of culture, potential crime. And the left also likes to conflate illegal immigration with legal immigration, undermining the legal system of immigration in almost any country that they are a part of. But the problem with the right side of the argument, they try to stick to ideas of previous generations that will no longer work in the current political climate. There are actually a lot of legitimate racists that are hidden on the right side as well. And they use this guide of like anti-immigration, but they just hate anybody who's different or not of their skin color. I also think that there's a lot of religious people on the right side. And I'm not the biggest fan of super religious people because I found that those people like to use religion to manipulate things in their favor. And because God is this almighty power, you can never argue with God. And I know that's a big problem here in Poland as well, where the Catholic Church has a lot of political influence and shapes a lot of Poland's political decisions.
The story is that Germany is dropping off immigrants at the border. Do you really think it's that bad?
It has to start somewhere, right? Generally, it's not going to start with a massive amount all at once. It's going to obviously infuriate and it's going to cause too many problems.
I think they're trying to test Poland's tolerance. You know, what I've noticed is that in a lot of Western countries, men aren't men anymore. They allow like ideas and people to come in, all these immigrants, but the people who are really going to stand up and say no are the men of a given country. It does feel like the men are still men here. An argument can be made about the younger generation that maybe that's going away. But I think there's a lot of people that are alive now that were around during the communist time. And they still have that resilient spirit and like, no, we're not going to let this happen to our country. And they're going to stand up for it. And I think that's really admirable.
With masculine comes a level of aggression potentially.
But aggression isn't always bad.
No,
because
that's
at the end
right.
of the day, if a soldier show up to your border, you want the masculine men to assert their dominance or whatever and fight them off, right?
Now, I don't think it's a coincidence that many countries around the world are facing a similar immigration crisis. And this sentiment seems to exist in the US as well. So I know that this is quite a universal thing.
So we have the perception of massive inequality. Economically, we do have massive inequality. My fear about this is that this is exactly the conditions that are going to trigger tribal population against population mayhem, that when people have the sense that the burst of growth that they were experiencing is now over, the natural response is to turn on those who are not as powerful and take their stuff. That this is a totally indefensible, but nonetheless biological pattern of history.
These European countries have thousands of years of history that they're trying to protect. So I think the nationalism and patriotism is a lot deeper than I will ever understand.
National pride has been so demeaned, so negatively spoken of, you know. But I think we should all take pride in where we come from. Find something that makes you proud. You were born somewhere. We don't have any choice over that. So why not take pride in it? Why feel shame? You know, this whole white shame fashion that's going around, it's crazy.
Yeah, no.
War, when you dig a bit deeper, isn't so far off anyone's imagination. Like I said, since 1795, they were wiped off the map. 1918, they get their independence back. A year later, they're attacked by the Soviets again.
Yeah.
And World War II kicks
happened,
off.
and it destroys Warsaw.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then even after World War II finishes, then the Russians are here. We're under Russian oppression. 1993, December, the last Russians finally leave. So that's fresh. We're finally resting. We are now finally breathing a little bit, but it's all fresh.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't take a lot to bring those emotions back up.
Yes.
You know, all our parents, our grandparents, they've all been through it. They've all experienced it. They can see what's happening in Europe. Now, you might say that's mainstream media. I've personally lived for the last 9 years with a backpack all over Europe and the world. I never stay in hotels, live inside communities.
That's what I do.
So I understand people. Taught me that, you know, this irresponsible mass and often illegal immigration done all over Europe doesn't work. I returned to one city 7 or 8 years apart.
Yeah.
Parts of it are unrecognizable.
Sure. One of my concerns for Poland and why I'm so anti-illegal immigration is because I've seen how quickly a society can go from a high trust society to a low trust society.
Yeah.
I grew up in the US, right? LA in the 90s when I grew up, in the 2000s, fantastic place. You know, we had our homeless, we had our problems, but it still felt quite safe. And then now my parents, they live in a pretty wealthy area, a bunch of Asian people, and they themselves have seen 2 robberies happen at like a local grocery store, black guys, unfortunately, go and rob these Asian people of their Rolex and stuff. That never used to happen before. And as soon as people start feeling like they can't trust their neighbor, it's gonna go to a low trust society very, very quickly. And it can happen in less than 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely it can. Can't always say, oh, well, people should be better. We're humans. This is the reality. Stop being naive.
When people say they want to eradicate racism, I'm like, but this is baked into the human DNA, right? But it's not just a race thing. People are tribal by nature, and people will kill each other over football teams, bro.
Yeah.
When it's something even deeper as race or culture, of course people are gonna be protective of it, right?
We are Polish. We have lived here. This is our history. Therefore, we are more inclined to
Take care of it. Yes, exactly. And this is the big difference between illegal immigrants and legal immigrants. If you're a refugee, right, and you come to this country illegally or through this refugee program, you're not going to appreciate your stay here because you didn't earn it, first off.
100%.
And the mentality of a refugee, for example, these Ukrainians that are escaping war, well, they want to assimilate to Polish culture or try to protect their Ukrainian culture. And I think they would rather protect their culture, and I don't fault them for it, right? But on a macro level, if you're trying to like run a society and keep Polish society the way that it is, you have to think about these things when you're letting people into the country. Immigrants, doesn't matter where they came from, if they migrated legally, and a lot of the Ukrainians that have been here for 10 plus years and they speak Polish and they integrate, that's a completely different group than the people that just came recently.
Yeah. And I've actually spoken to Ukrainians about that, and they feel the same way. These illegals, they come in, they get a lot of benefits and different things and whatever.
Right.
You think you're doing good for the people, but how often have you appreciated something that you've just given off the cuff?
And you're punishing the citizens of that country to help other people that have nothing to do with your country.
Obviously, that's naturally going to create frustration, tension. I worked for this. My parents, my family, and you've just arrived. You're already getting more than me. It's unfair to just say someone, "Oh, you're just racist." No, they're not. They're somebody who wants something done fairly. Listen to them. Enough of the slander, labels, and buzzwords. This is what leftists are really, really good at, and they go for it every time. It's a slander. They go for character assassination. They go for slander, labels, and buzzwords, and usually they hit, and they hit hard. And most people retract and they back in their shell. Don't. If you're not, be sure of yourself. Understand who you are, and keep going forward. Don't let it affect you.
So what do you guys think, especially if you're Polish, right? Do you think that this Polish-German border crisis is as bad as they say it is? Or do you think the Polish media is trying to make it a way bigger issue than it actually is? Let me know what you guys think down below. I highly recommend you guys watch this video next, and I will see you on the next one.